Hey guys, and welcome back to the Dugout. I know I've been absent for about a week, but I can assure you I'm back posting every Monday, so stay tuned. Also, before I get into today's subject, put down in the comments wherever you see this of who I should interview. Or who in Calgary, Alberta, I should interview. If you have someone else in mind, I can always Zoom them and interview them. What coach or player or person in this industry would you like to learn more from? And I will just reach out to them and interview them and just do that. So let me know what you think. I have a couple options myself, but let me know what you think, and then we can go and do that. But today's subject is 3 things that you are doing wrong as a coach. Yes, you. Now, huge here in Canada, this first one that so many coaches just get wrong right off the bat, and that's results over progress. Now, when we're talking about the youth aspect of this and progressing and, trying to become the best player that we can create, we often see in Canada, especially, honestly, North America, that results matter more than the actual progress of the player themselves. Now, you can look at this and say, of course, like, you need to win. You need to teach players how to win, and winning helps them develop and this and that. But when I look across my own experience playing and coaching over the past 8 years, that players in Canada, we're not coaching the next Messis. Like Alphonso Davies coming out of Canada was brilliant. Coming out of Alberta as well is brilliant. But he's definitely, we don't have a ton of those. Like most of the kids that you are coaching, that you and me are coaching, are going to be lawyers, doctors, accountants, or they're going to be coaches themselves, or they're going to have another part to play in this. So in reality, coaches here in Canada need to understand that they are not, obviously, yes, you're going to have success. You're going to have players going to university. Now we have professional pathways here in Calgary with the Calgary Wild, Calgary FC. Shout out to them for winning this weekend. Brilliant. But I see way too many youth level coaches prioritizing results of a Saturday game for like the under 12s or even under 10s team more than the actual progress and them learning. Like, players need to make mistakes, as we've gone over before. Players have to be able to make mistakes in order to learn the lessons, in order to get better. And so coaches here in Canada just focus on results way too much, and that comes at a detriment to the players' progression. You'll have coaches yelling at literal kids because they're not doing something properly or they conceded a goal, and now that player is going to be terrified of making another mistake because coach is going to yell at me, and then they're going to fall out of their love from the game, and they're never going to play again. I have friends who had top-level coaches that are coaching at high levels in this country that they still have mental issues when it comes to what they've gone through or what a coach said to them in the past. Like, their self-worth was affected even into their mid-20s. Like, it's actually ridiculous about how poor we can be as a coaching group. And I'm sure at some points I've prioritized a win or two, but we need to step away from the results-based focus. Obviously, it's great to see that you win. Players keeps track of score. I'm not stupid. I understand that. But at the same time, we need to cultivate an environment where we're trying to improve players and focus on progress over results, because growth now means that they will have the tools and the ability to make great, amazing career choices or be able to play at a high level further forward. I don't care if my under 12s or under 11s or under 10s team wins on the weekend. Like, obviously, if we can, great, because obviously you go home happy, you get to celebrate with your family. But in terms of a long-term player development plan, we need to look at progress and growth well over results, and that's just a non-negotiable. I will fight anyone who in youth sports thinks that results matters over growth and progress. Now, super passionate about this. One of my closest friends, he dealt with this as well. A top-level coach that coached at the highest level in Alberta on the women's side, and now he's off doing his own thing. He had problems with him with this coach at a youth level back when he was 10, and he said that certain things really affected him and his self-worth growing up, and he still struggles. I think he's for the most part gotten over it now. God bless him, but at the same time, he still needed to process that, and lowering a kid's self-worth, I don't think it's worth it. Like, he loves the sport, he watches it with his family and friends. It's like a religion to him. But in terms of playing, he had to overcome mental hurdles, and I saw that because he was my teammate, and he went through a lot. And to know that can be avoided, to know that as a coach I can really help kids avoid those types of mental issues, and to have a great experience and want to do more of it as they get older. Like, in my mind, I'm creating next players. Obviously, I want to coach university players. I want to make sure that they have options going forward in school and to be able to play long term. But I want to coach players who are playing this sport decades after I'm done coaching them, or that they learn amazing life lessons that will then benefit them in other areas of life. And, if they become successful and famous, great. And if they remember me and they want to, give me a share of the pie, or a share of their money they earn, that's great. No, but honestly, like, I just want players to grow as people more than anything, and I think that's one thing that Canada's missing in order to grow the sport. The sport's still small here, so I think we need to take a more growth centered approach rather than just results right now. So if you're doing that, you're wrong. Second one I want to talk about is preparedness. Now, I know I'm speaking to probably some dads, some moms, some people that just like doing coaching for fun, or their kids in it, or this and that. And one thing that really, really, really kills the love of coaching is a lack of preparedness, or honestly not even knowing what to prepare. And so that's something that I want to step in and help with. Now, when it comes to actual session planning, it's important. We've talked about it in the past, having a plan that's kid-focused or player-focused. And I won't touch on it too much, but making sure that that's the focus of the session means everything. Now, when it comes to preparedness, a lot of coaches work a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4. They come and they just go straight to work, right to the session. I mean, my assistant coach at the moment does exactly that. He hates his Mondays, but then he gets to come and assistant coach. And so I'm super grateful for that. But I know that he trusts me to do my thing because obviously I'm very passionate and I've done this. I have a lot of experience with it. But I know that there's some teams where their dads are the head coach. And so they struggle to put things together, and then it ends up not being the best session, or the kids run riot. And so I think the most important thing that you can do as a volunteer coach, and this is more me talking to the parents that do this kind of on the fly, is to research. Just honestly, Google, YouTube is your best resource. One of the best sayings I've ever heard in coaching is that coaches are the best thieves, or coaches are good thieves. One of the two. And what this basically means is look on YouTube, look at other coaches, like look at other people doing this and copy what they do, or try and see if that would apply to your team, and try and copy it and make it your own thing, and try your best to figure out as many resources as possible. And this can honestly be in like a 10-15 minute span once a week, where you just prepare the sessions and then go and do it. And this will give you a nice foundation for the training session that you're doing, and it'll give players a little bit of structure where they need it. Kids, for the most part, I'm mostly talking about your under 12s and younger. They don't need too much coaching. It's better to be a coach that does nothing for these kids and then just instills a little bit of, listening skills and whatnot, than be a bad coach that, as we talked about before, just prioritizes results. So being a coach that does minimal coaching is better than a bad coach, because if you're just not ignorant, that's not the right word, but if you're a bit more laissez-faire about the actual coaching itself, rather than coaching the wrong things, your impact will be more positive. Now, obviously, there's good coaches and bad coaches, but most of us follow in kind of that average coach. I'm going to set the kids up to do the thing, and then we go home. So when it comes to preparedness, make sure that you know what you're doing. You have a plan, a backup plan, just in case things go wrong, and make sure it's player focused. And I think if you just take 10, 15 minutes, Google, YouTube, or look at resources, I think that's perfect. Just enough for players to get enough out of it. And obviously, if you're keen on it and you enjoy it, you're going to research this yourself. You're going to ask people for help. You're going to ask your phase lead at your club or anything for that help. So knowing that you're prepared will give you the confidence to then coach. And I think it honestly makes it more enjoyable. Like for me, sometimes I've been busy or the days just, the sessions just snuck up on me and I haven't had a session. But the preparedness from past sessions has then allowed me to actually focus on, has allowed me to make something up on the fly and to make sure that, I have something prepared. So past preparedness helps you in the future and it gives you experience on what you need to do for whatever specific situation. Or preparedness in the past allows you to change something on the fly. Let's say an activity is not working. You're prepared. You've done this before. Okay, maybe let's try it a different way. And this is the essence of coaching, is on the fly changing things to suit your players. Because at the end of the day, players matter the most. And lastly, one of the most important ones, one thing that coaches get so wrong is their communication. Now, this falls into a couple of categories, but two I want to focus on is one, your verbal communication. The way you talk, the way you say hi to your players, the way you coach, the way you yell. Honestly, some kids will literally shrink or shrivel at the sound of their coach yelling because it scares them that much. Whereas some coaches, like for me, for example, if I yell, I know I'm not coming across as scary or anything like that, mostly due to my voice, but that's a conversation for a different day. But I know that the way I instruct my players is usually asking them a question. It's usually trying to make them provoke their thought. And occasionally I'll yell a command in case they're not getting it. And then when they come off, I talk to them. But in reality, our communication, our verbal communication is so damn important that most coaches can't get over this part. They yell and they try and enforce their will on the players to make them and mold them to do what they want to do. Now, this is wrong for a couple reasons. Anything that you do, and this comes from when I was in school, anything that you do and say to a kid, they're very impressionable and they're going to take it to heart. They're going to, for the average kid, if you say something, they're going to think about it for a while. They're going to try and digest it. And, I go back to my friend, if it is negative enough, it becomes part of their identity, sadly. So we need, as a coaching society, to tread lightly and to be very intentional with the way that we talk to our players and the way that we conduct our sessions or the way that we even just conduct ourselves. Like, we need to say things and coach in a way so players can trust us and think positively about their experience in this sport. Because again, we're trying to grow the sport, and to make sure we do that, the attitude that we have towards these players needs to be a very constructive and positive communication feedback loop. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but we need to make sure that players understand that we're there for them and we communicate in a way that illustrates that. And the second one is our physical communication, our body language, which is there's a stat out there that says it's something percent of daily communication, but let's say that it's 90% of human communication is through body language. It's the way we carry ourselves. Are our shoulders hunched? Are we slumped? Are we proud chested? Are we very confident in the way we walk and carry ourselves? And this has a lot to do with, and players will pick up on this. If you're a confident coach, if you carry yourself in a high regard, you will earn the trust of your players, and they will see that communication, that physical communication, that body language, and they'll know to trust you. They'll know that, okay, if coach tells me to do something, I trust him because, well, he just looks like he knows the answers. And it honestly is just a change of body language. Honestly, there's been times where I've made mistakes and I've gone into it. My team talks have not been inspired. I've had very low energy. I talk like this and I kind of go through the team talk, just kind of go through it. Or, I talk like this and I give emotion to it, and I change my wording and I use the volume of my language to go up and down and to give a different way of me speaking. And that's just a small and I use my body and this and that. Like I gesture, I point to players, I use their names, I look engaged. And if I'm engaged, chances are my players are. If I come in sulking, or if I come in had a bad day at work and I just look miserable, my players are going to be miserable that entire session. So it's very important for you as a coach to focus on your communication. And if you do that, and if you really are intentional with the message that you're trying to give your players, then you will gain their trust, and they will listen to you, and they will trust you. And honestly, you'll just gain a great relationship with your players and parents. I'll give this as an example. Players do not like defending most of the time. You have the few that are just love putting in a slide tackle. But there are some players where it's like, really defending? So a couple weeks ago, when we were doing a pressing session, or when I was teaching my players, this is how we want to win the ball back. This is what we're going to do. If I came in there with low energy and with kind of like all right, this is what we're going to do, I don't think my players are going to get much out of it. But instead, what I did is okay, I know they're going to want, players love attacking more. I know this could be a lazy session if I don't do it properly. But in order for me to get my message across, I took a deep breath before the session and I gave all my energy. I was yelling, passionate, clapping, cheering on every single tackle. I was super positive. And then the boys started feeding into it. And that was legit probably one of my top 5 sessions I've ever coached in my life. Just the energy that we brought. And then the next game, we were absolute monsters when it came to it. We won the ball back. We scored, I think, 1 or 2 times off of winning the ball back. It carries on. And now I don't have to coach it nearly as much in games now because they understand it, because that was a memorable experience for them. So that's one way communication can really, really play an important factor. Just to wrap it all up, it doesn't mean if you're doing these things wrong, you're a bad coach. You're only a bad coach if you don't try to apply and do your best every single time. If you're focusing on progress with your players more than anything and celebrating the wins and learning from the losses, that's amazing. If you're coming to the session with a plan and you're prepared and you're on your toes just in case that plan does not go to plan, then you're doing your best. And if you're focused on how you communicate, how you carry yourself, then you're doing your best. And if you apply these 3 things, sue me if it doesn't work. Honestly, sue me if it doesn't work, because these 3 things is such an important bit when it comes to coaching. And obviously, there's so much more you could go on about, but progress and growth, being prepared, and having the right communication style is a great way to start and a great way to give your players the best experience possible. And at the end of the day, it's players over us. The players are the most important thing on that field. There's nothing else that comes close. We have such a high purpose when it comes to this. We want them to succeed, but again, we got to give them the tools too. We got to give them the energy too, and we got to make sure that they enjoy themselves first and foremost, because again, we are growing as a community. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I missed anything, if there's other parts of this that mean more than others, and let me know what you think. If you think this is wrong, tell me. If you think it's right, tell me. I'd love to hear your feedback. Make sure to tune in soon. Make sure to tell me who to interview here in Calgary. It can be anyone you want, and I will hit them up. That is a guarantee. But anyway, subscribe, follow, do your thing, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.